Hello and welcome to CTV News across Canada for Thursday, January 15th. We've got the top local stories from coast to coast. Stories that affect you and the country. Thanks for joining us.
Some of the stuff just started peeling a couple days ago. I'm gonna guess this is the pole, like the pole on that, where it hit me. Marks here, I got stitches up in my forehead. Staples, sorry, not stitches. Like, I think I got 4 or 5 of them in my head. They had to glue my eyebrow back together.
Steve Marche is worse for wear, but the father of 3 is walking and talking and says he's lucky to be breathing.
I guess I was just lucky, and then I had a guardian angel over me.
This was him on Saturday in front of his Sarnia home. He's the one under the car, repeatedly being run over, as seen in this blurred video supplied by Sarnia police.
I ended up going into a shock seizure, and then I woke up in the ambulance.
Marche says he had gotten into an argument with a close friend. Then on Saturday, just after midnight, police say a vehicle drove into an Afton Drive townhouse complex and struck an e-bike. Police say the suspect got out of his vehicle and approached Marche's home with a pipe in his hand before leaving the scene. The same day, around 1:45 in the afternoon, the suspect is alleged to have returned in his car. An altercation ensues, and that's when Marche says he was run over by his friend.
If it wasn't for the pole and the curb saving my life, I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be dead because of this guy. He ran over me 3 times.
A 21-year-old Sarnia man faces several charges in connection to the incidents, including attempted murder. In the meantime, the police investigation continues into this dispute between former good friends that turned violent, while the suspect remains in custody and the victim and his family now deal with the trauma. Marche says none of his injuries is serious and he's recovering at home.
I felt like I was dying. I felt like I was going to lose my family, my kids. I don't even know what was going through this guy's mind.
Brian Bicknell, CTV News.
I was in my room watching TV. All of a sudden, the alarms went off, and they came running in and said, "You got to go."
The fire call came in just before 9 this morning. Fire and thick smoke could be seen coming from the Belmont Independent Living Facility in Stayner, where 24 residents were inside, along with an unknown number of staff.
The fire alarm went off. It was very smoke-filled, hard to breathe.
Staff helped residents evacuate as many people as they could before fire crews arrived and took over. Firefighters went on an immediate offensive attack and could be seen inside, outside, and on top of the building, making every effort to prevent it from spreading. 4 residents were taken to nearby hospital with minor injuries.
No word on cause just yet, but it did start at the rear of the building. There's voids between the floors and the walls, and the fire got into all the voids between the 1st and 2nd floor and the 2nd and 3rd floor, so we had to gain access from the exterior just to put out the hot spots.
No word on how much damage was done, but it is extensive, and no one is moving back in anytime soon. Residents were taken across the street to a church to stay warm before being bused by the county to a hotel in Midland, where they will stay for the time being.
We do loop in our social services as well to make sure any residents that need that extra level of care, extra level of support, do get that support when they're removed from the house.
Staff from the residents being credited for their quick thinking and quick action in assisting everyone inside. The mayor says the building has been around for years and was recently renovated.
It's actually one of the most beautiful retirement homes, privately held retirement homes you'll find in Simcoe. And it's sad that it's gone up in flames here tonight.
In all, 4 people taken to hospital this afternoon. The building itself sustaining heavy smoke and fire damage. Fire crews spending a good part of the afternoon putting out hot spots, and I've been told the fire marshal has been called in. Rob Cooper, CTV News, Stayner.
With his wife Isabelle by his side, François Legault says his decision is for the good of the party and Quebec.
J'annonce aujourd'hui que je vais quitter mon poste de Premier ministre du Québec.
He's stepping down as premier, saying he knows Quebecers want a new leader. Just a few weeks ago, Legault insisted he'd remain in office.
Do they want to have Pablo, or do they want me?
But support for the party and its leader has been on a downward spiral. Recent polls put the CAQ in last place, tied with Quebec Solidaire. 75% of Quebecers view Legault unfavorably. In his riding, some were shocked by the news.
Oui, j'ai adoré mon Legault.
This woman saying she adores him, calling him a good man. Others were less generous.
Au début, je l'aimais, mais à la fin, non.
The former Air Transat co-founder created the CAQ in 2011, forming majority governments in 2018 and again in 2022. Legault promised a future for the province that wouldn't involve a debate on independence.
The Coalition Avenir Québec will never have a referendum.
Things took a turn last summer when the PQ beat the CAQ in a by-election in the Quebec City area.
Il y a des longues files d'attente.
The party was also dogged by recent scandals, from the Auto Insurance Board's $500 million digital transformation to failed investments in Northvolt and Lion Electric. And the CAQ has faced intense backlash over its law changing how doctors are paid. That led to former Social Services Minister Lionel Carman leaving the party and the resignation of Health Minister Christiane Dubé.
I think that people really want him out now. That, we want something new for the doctors. The medical situation is really out of control.
The recent health shenanigans with all the doctor stuff is pretty concerning.
Much of Legault's first term was plagued by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Évidemment, ma grande fierté.
He says he's most proud the province was able to hire and train 10,000 healthcare workers in just a few months. But many of his immigration policies affecting those workers were unpopular. He butted heads with unions during the nurses and teacher strikes and over a controversial bill limiting the right to strike. His secularism law, Bill 21, is being contested at the Supreme Court, and his language and education laws have been unpopular with many in the English-speaking community, a community he addressed directly when his party first rose to power.
Let's work together.
An estimated 1,659 New Brunswickers left the country last year for medical care, according to the right-leaning Fraser Institute. The report cites urology, general and orthopedic surgeries as the most common procedures New Brunswickers sought outside of Canada.
It is something that we watch because we want to make sure that we have the health services for New Brunswickers.
The report states these were non-emergencies and doesn't specify which countries Canadians were seeking treatment. It does speculate why people might look to other countries, resources, quality of care, and wait times. The Canadian Health Coalition says it's something to monitor, but they have questions.
The study isn't quite detailed enough to say what the nature of these procedures are. Some of them may be very elective. It could be about in vitro fertilization. It could be reproductive nature.
Wait times for certain procedures in the province remain high. 9 out of 10 urology surgeries, which include bladder, kidney, and male infertility procedures, take 191 days or over 6 months to complete, while 9 out of 10 orthopedic surgeries were over a year.
Some people are choosing to go outside of province because of the long waits, so we continue to try to tackle our wait lists with the aggressive recruitment we've been doing of healthcare professionals, making the conditions much better to be a healthcare professional here in New Brunswick.
Stephen Staples, a New Brunswicker whose family has had to navigate the province's healthcare system, says primary care is key.
What we actually hear is it's access to family doctors is the main concern that people have, accessing the system. But once they get into the system, they find their care quite good.
According to the report, an estimated 222 Islanders and 1,820 Nova Scotians left the country for medical care. Laura Brown, CTV News, Fredericton.
This is where I had just close it all in at the bottom here.
The windows in Joyce Taylor's apartment were taken out about a month and a half ago. She's done the additional taping because there was a gap, and while she was at her son's for Christmas, squirrels got into her apartment.
Well, I thought something broke in my house. That's how bad it was. Everything was all over.
It took 3 days for her to trap the rodent, trying first with sticky pads that just ripped off some of the animal's fur, until finally it was caught in a cage.
It's just really nerve-wracking. I mean, for 84 years old to go through what I'm going through.
She has 4 heaters going at all times to keep it warm.
I have a big blanket. I have to have over 6 blankets over my bed because the heater shut off during the night.
But she finds the dry, recirculating air makes it hard to breathe, and she worries about a fire.
I'm on top floor. I'm handicapped. I can't go down the stairs. If there's no elevator, I can't get out, no.
Since the windows came out, there's been wood where her living room windows would be, and both wood and plexiglass instead of bedroom windows. She says they were removed on November 28th.
They said it was going to put it in on Tuesday. Then they came and said we can't put it on Tuesday. Then they put it up again.
The building is owned by the Toronto Community Housing Corporation and has been undergoing a significant retrofit to replace windows and repair structural issues. In a statement, a spokesperson says this resident's experience is unacceptable and we apologize to Mrs. Taylor for the disruption and discomfort that she's experienced. They go on to say the standard process for window replacements is to remove and replace windows in a single day, providing temporary accommodations for the resident while the work is completed. They say this time a supply issue resulted in new windows not being ready for installation and a temporary window covering was installed. The supply issue should have been resolved immediately, and this was not our normal process.
It's opening at the top here. It's all starting to open. That's where I get the cold air.
For Taylor, the question remains, why take the windows out in winter? And
why you would take them out if you don't have the stuff for it.
Taylor says she was told the new windows should be in by the end of this month. And just within the last hour or so, that spokesperson with Toronto Community Housing was telling us that they are working urgently with the contractor to try and fix this issue by the end of the week. Meantime, Taylor says she knows of at least one other tenant whose unit has the same problem. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst.
They're some of the biggest developers in Waterloo region, responsible for the cranes and high-rises and homes of all shapes and sizes.
It was a good information exchange, but there's still a lot of questions that
we got a lot of work to do.
On most days, competitors, but with new permits drying up and the region putting a freeze on development over concerns about a water shortage, they're all on the same side.
The development community needs consistent, clear information. We need a line in the sand.
The region says it does not have enough water capacity to support the continued growth in the Mannheim service area, covering Kitchener, Waterloo, parts of Cambridge, and some of the townships, and has said it's working to find new sources and solutions.
Pain has already been created by the creation of uncertainty, by putting a freeze just even on the planning process.
These developers say uncertainty is scaring investors and generating questions from banks.
Joseph and I, we both shared a similar experience. So, we had big bank lenders, some of the big ones, call, and usually we're calling them asking for money for projects and land and such. They called saying, so, is this a real thing? Why didn't you know about this? Why didn't you expect it, right?
They say several projects around the region are now in limbo.
We get to a point where we're ready to go, and then at the 11th hour, we're told that there's no water capacity.
The former Krauss factory land in North Waterloo that could see 12 towers and over 3,000 units could be in jeopardy.
Damage will be done to our economy if we just take a black or white approach and say that nothing can happen, whereas there's still some question as to what that capacity actually is.
They're also raising concerns about other big projects like the LRT expansion and the region's new hospital.
You need water for everything, industry, housing, institutions, hospitals, right? So, yeah, we have that land, it's celebrated, it's budgeted, but the water solution is key to all of that.
The developers believe the region is taking the issue seriously.
I think everyone's got a fire lit on a proverbial butt right now.
But are concerned they may not be able to move quickly enough.
I do think they're taking it seriously, but I think we need to move at a pace that government is typically uncomfortable with.
And the developers are hopeful there is a short to medium-term fix that will allow some development to continue as the big picture project of permanently increasing the water capacity gets underway. But they stress again the region needs to act fast.
The loudest voice we've heard in this community is that parents want their kids here in the neighborhood.
Bob Gordon's daughters are in kindergarten and grade 6 at Lady Evelyn, one of 4 K-6 alternative schools in the Ottawa-Carleton District School Board now being phased out.
That's become an acceptance for us. What we were really hoping for is that there would be programming continue.
Former trustees approved the program elimination last spring along with middle French immersion, a decision upheld after the province took over the school board last year, leaving families with 2 options, English with core French and early French immersion.
We had hoped at some capacity that they were going to start including the immersion program.
He believes that could help stem declining enrollment after parents were told there would be no new junior kindergarten intakes and no transfers into the alternative system. But the board says there's no immediate plan to phase in new programming, according to an email sent to parents in December.
That's what you start to worry about when you start seeing an empty school. What's the board going to consider for what's going to happen next to the school?
And it's not just parents at Lady Evelyn concerned about their school's future, but parents here at First Avenue Public Schools say with the elimination of middle French immersion, they're concerned about what that means for their kids moving forward.
We love First Avenue as a school. I would love to keep my son there, but I'm really uncertain about the future viability of the school if we don't have French immersion.
Aaron Gilmer's son is in senior kindergarten. In an email to parents, the principal confirms the 2026-27 school year is the last chance to register for middle French immersion before it's phased out, adding the board has not yet determined if early French immersion will be offered at First Avenue in the future, with more official guidance expected in the coming weeks.
We need some solid information to help us make decisions. For us, if we wanted to pursue a transfer to the same school that his friends will be going to for French immersion, we've got until February 6th to apply for that transfer. So that doesn't leave us much time to make a decision.
CTV News reached out to both the school board and Ministry of Education for clarification, but has not heard back. In that letter sent to parents in December, Education Director Stacey Kay says the board is working through overcrowding and long-term planning for the future use and boundaries of the alternative school sites, along with a timeline.
Homelessness in Northern Ontario has increased by 37% from 2024 to 2025, according to a new report which studied Ontario's homelessness data. The rate is much higher when compared to the rest of the province.
Disproportionate would be a reasonable term to describe the numbers between Northern Ontario and Southern Ontario.
A report called Municipalities Under Pressure 1 year later finds that while Northern Ontario represents 5% of the province's population, it now accounts for nearly 10% of all homelessness in Ontario.
There's a lot more collaboration and coordination happening among partners in communities. That being said, I'd be hard-pressed to see any other real progress.
Indigenous people account for more than 40% of homelessness in the north. In just 1 year, the number of people experiencing homelessness in Northern Ontario rose from 5,900 to 8,100.
Investments in the heart hubs is a good first start in the province, but we know that there aren't heart hubs everywhere.
The report finds the crisis is shaped by structural housing shortages, not short-term disruptions like job loss, and that a limited availability of affordable housing hinders people's attempts to get off the streets.
We need to dig deep into those federal, provincial, and local pockets and start building more houses.
We do have a proposed meeting with Rob Flack, who is the Minister of Housing. That would be through NASDA.
This pressure contributes to longer shelter stays, increased chronic homelessness, and rising system costs across health, emergency, and social services.
All these studies and reports that go back emphasize the system and the problems that we face.
Beyond its human toll, the report also finds homelessness is undermining economic stability. Northern Ontario municipalities are absorbing rising costs for emergency shelters, healthcare, public safety, and encampment response. Eric Tashner, CTV News, North Bay.
Today's court hearing was not about guilt. That was already decided when 62-year-old Kevin Goodings pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in the death of his 83-year-old mother, Anita Goodings. Instead, the focus today was on sentencing, specifically how many years Goodings must serve before he can apply for parole. Assistant Crown Attorney George Spartino says matricide, or the killing of one's mother, is incredibly rare.
I've done several of these types of cases, but matricide is so rare, and to me, I don't know, it just cuts to the heart of, I don't know, like almost a human soul. To kill the woman who raised you, gave you birth and raised you, I mean, that's just horrible, horrific in my view.
The body of Anita Goodings was discovered on the back deck of her Leamington apartment on March 12, 2025. Last month, court learned Goodings stomped his mother's head nearly 10 times, repeatedly kicked her in the torso, and covered her face twice with a pillow. The entire attack was caught on security camera footage. Goodings was arrested 3 days later at the downtown Mission, where he was found using a fake name. The court heard 8 victim impact statements from family and friends detailing the anguish and trauma they've endured. Goodings' younger brother Brian wrote, "Absolutely no one will forgive you for this. The saddest part of that statement is that she forgave you before you were done committing the act." A second-degree murder charge carries an automatic life sentence, but the judge needed to decide how long before he can be considered for parole. A joint submission from the Crown and defense calling for 12 years before parole eligibility. Defense lawyer Dan Scott cited factors like Goodings' early guilty plea, sparing family from trial, noting Goodings did not suffer any previous mental health concerns. Justice Maria Carosilla saying his actions were brutal and horrific, determining Goodings won't be eligible for parole for the requested 12 years. Saying in her ruling, "It is clear to me your intention was to kill. There is nothing you can say or do to me that can change my mind." Goodings has been in custody since his arrest last March.
Off the top of my head, I can't recall a murder plea or conviction to go from the time the offender's arrested to the day he's sentenced 9 months. I can't recall that.
He is banned from ever owning weapons, must provide a DNA sample, and cannot communicate with a list of 10 family members or friends of the family. Chris Campbell, CTV News.
The Canadian Federation of Independent Business says the province's small business community is facing an uncertain economic future, and a proposed rate hike from SaskPower will only add to that strain.
They've recently seen insurance premiums skyrocket. They're dealing with increased labor and occupancy costs, and not to mention massive price volatility.
Now, this comes after the Crown announced it is seeking a 3.9% rate increase this February and an additional 3.9% hike in February 2027. The increases still need approval from the rate review panel, but the CFIB is already warning of its implications, saying in a letter to the panel, further increases, even when described as modest, compound financial strain many businesses simply cannot afford. Adding, for small businesses and farms operating on tight margins, interim increase creates immediate cost pressure and uncertainty, shifting financial risk onto ratepayers.
Be transparent and accountable as to where these funds are going, why the increase is necessary. Are they using the cost-effective manners that we would expect to see?
In response to CTV News, the province says it has made decisions ensuring Saskatchewan businesses have an affordable and reliable power system while prioritizing the energy security of our province, while the rate review panel did not respond to our request for comment regarding CFIB's concerns by deadline. Pending approval from the rate review panel, SaskPower plans to implement its new rates February 1st, while CFIB hopes for further discussion and consultation for future hikes moving forward. Donovan May, CTV News, Regina.
We have people from all over the world contacting us and approaching us.
And what makes this Saskatoon company that popular is this drone. And it's not just any drone, because it's helping save lives.
It really helps save a lot of time and effort from people on the ground.
It can pinpoint a missing person who might be in a remote area with this unique silver portion. It locates someone with a cell phone as far as 35 kilometers away.
That acts as a mobile cell tower to connect to and identify cell phones for missing persons.
And one of Europe's leading search and rescue organizations from Sweden is now signed on to purchase 2 of these Saskatoon drones, which can operate in harsh weather, adding to the reasons our province just makes sense to design, develop, and manufacture it all right here.
Operating in Saskatoon and Saskatchewan does give us a very good benefit of having a lot of wide open space to go do flight testing and development.
There are about 15 staff here doing most of the work, with a BC location added. In total, the company has about 50 staff.
Questions or curiosities around why Saskatoon, and our answer was always, well, that's where we live. So we're building the company and the technology where we live.
Dragonfly actually started as a model plane business in 1998 and developed with increased drone technology, proving its effectiveness. The Saskatoon Police Service has been using drones for years. They tell us that they're primarily used in searches for missing persons, to document and investigate collision scenes, to assist the fire department with aerial views of fire scenes, and they're used by special teams to assist in locating suspects.
Drone industry is always evolving, always developing.
For this company, the sky's the limit, with plans for more advancement in drone technology. Carla Shinkaruk, CTV News, Saskatoon.